Welcome to Chess Progress. I'm JJ and I'm here with Alex.
Hey, what's up? I'm Alex.
Who's gonna teach you and by proxy me and by proxy you how to play chess.
Exactly. So I've been playing chess for about 10 years of my life now. You may also know us from other YouTube channels. We both do our own stuff. And we have another gaming channel which is called Trashcan TV. But this one is specifically focused on learning chess. So JJ can and wants to learn chess a little bit. And I'm here to support that.
I've been playing chess for about as long as you have, but I've never actually gone into strategy. So I know the rules, but that's about it.
That's about it. So we're going to start this off with a very the very first thing you need to know when you play chess, which is the names of the rules, the basic rules, names of the pieces, where they're lined up and what they can do. So this is the basic position in a chess game, right? You already probably know that. We have it on the screen right now.
Yes.
Now, all the pieces have different names, and you can probably tell the people what the pieces are called, because you already know that.
Well, are we going to go through them and explain them while we're...
No, just do where they line up and what they're called first. And then we get into every single piece, explain to you how they move, and that's the first video of the series. Well, that's all you need to know in the beginning.
Right in the front, we've got a line of pawns.
Correct.
Well, fronts.
It's 8 pawns.
Yeah, it's 8 of them, because it's an 8x8 board, which means it's 64 squares. We got ourselves a rook right here in the corner, and another one in the other corner.
That's correct.
Right next to those, we've got ourselves 2 knights.
Yep, they're the horses, but we'll call them knights. Don't make the beginner mistake of calling them horses. That's a pro tip. If you want to sound smarter about chess right away, call them knights.
Call them by the correct names.
Call them by the correct names.
In between those, we've got the bishops.
That's correct.
And then, in between those, we've got on the white field, we got the white queen.
That is
and
correct.
opposite to that on the black field, which is gray here, we got the green here.
Yep.
God damn it.
It's dark. We just say dark. Typically, we say white and dark, or light and dark squares. Okay. That's also another one. It's squares. It's squares. That's the chess terminology.
And then we've got the kings on the squares that are opposite to their color.
Exactly.
Basically.
And then you go from inside out. Go bishop, knight, and rook. So if you're starting off just playing chess for the first time, and this is a good thing to practice. Like, push it all together and then set the pieces up. Right, and then check with like an image if it's correct. So that's the very first basic thing you can do. I know you already can do that,
yes.
But for the people at home who maybe are exposed to chess for the very first time, that's not a bad thing to do at all. That's the very first basics. So, the names of the pieces you will also remember. You just said them all, so you can if you need help remembering those, you write them down. But that is fairly easy to do.
Yeah, I mean.
So I think what we're gonna do next is get into individual pieces and demonstrate what they can do and how they move. The king is never captured, but what happens is that you need to get him into a position where he's basically trapped and he can't get out of it.
Which is called checkmate.
Exactly, that's called a checkmate. So
if you can't get out of it, it's called a check.
Yeah.
And if you're Australian, it's always called a checkmate.
Get into the pieces. So first we're going to look at a pawn. This is a pawn, JJ.
I know!
Can you tell me how a pawn can move?
Well...
Just like that. If it was just that, how can the pawn move?
Well, there's 2 positions you can move this to. And this is either straight ahead, 1, or 2. Okay,
exactly. So the general rule is that a pawn always just moves 1 square up ahead. The first move that a pawn makes can be 2. That's the rule. So this is always okay. Just move it up 1. Always works for pawn. And 2 ahead from the starting position. So pawns can also capture pieces like everyone else can. However, that does not happen in a straight line. Pawns always capture diagonally.
Yeah, that's the one kind of weird thing about pawns, because all other pieces move the same no matter whether they're taking an opponent's piece or not. In this case, they capture
White can just
diagonally.
Capture this pawn. So pawns,
1 space.
Yeah, they cannot, however, move diagonally if they're not taking anything.
Yeah.
They move straight up, and they capture diagonally. Okay, let's get into the knight. The knight is a funny piece, because the knight is probably the trickiest piece on the chessboard. What you can remember is that it always moves in an L shape.
Exactly.
It moves 2 squares in one direction, and then 1 more square in another. So like that is possible. Just make some knight moves.
Okay.
Like that. Okay, so we can go 2 up and 1 to the right. Oh, wait, it's black's move now.
Oh yeah, there's no black pieces.
Okay, then go back. We could also go to there. That there will be 2 up and 1 to the right. Or 2 up and 1 to the left. So that is how the knight moves. So let's make some knight moves to show you how that works. The white knight could go 2 up and 1 to the left. Black knight, let's go 1 up and 2 to the right. Yep. Let's go 2 up, 1 to the right. Yep. Just move them around a little bit, and that is how the knights move. And now, well, it's black's move, but there you go. They also capture the same way. That's how a knight moves. That's already the trickiest part and the trickiest piece to learn, but you'll get it down really quickly. The bishops are a bit different. What they do is they exclusively move diagonally, which also implies that a bishop can never leave its colored square.
Yes.
In this case, we have a dark squared bishop for black and a light squared bishop for the white. Those two bishops will never be able to capture each other. They'll never encounter each other on the same square. So they can move as far as they want to. So you can move it the whole diagonal of the board as far as you want in every direction. Of course, in case that square is open. It's white's turn. But they can never leave their color. Of course, in the starting position, you have a bishop on the light square and a bishop on the dark square. Both players have. So you have both of those always around. And then later you can decide which one might be more valuable to you if you want to trade one of them off. So bishops are diagonal pieces, never leave their color. The rooks are kind of the opposite to a bishop. They cannot move diagonally, but they can move vertically and horizontally as far as they desire to. So like that, like that. Up, down, left, and right is how the rooks can move. And also capture. In this case, the black rook captures the white rook there. They take the same way. They cannot move diagonally. So the queens are lined up in a bit of an unfortunate way right now because they could capture each other right away.
Yeah.
Queens combine rooks and bishops at their core. What a queen can do is move diagonally to the left, right, up, and down as much as she pleases. And that makes the queen the most powerful piece on the board. Cannot move like a knight does, but every direction. Yep, just capture exactly. That makes the queen the most powerful and impactful piece because, like that queen right there in the center, just look at how many squares that queen controls. It's insane. It's like, yeah, it's the entire e-file, the entire 5th rank, and the diagonals that she's on. So that queen overlooks like damn near half the chessboard. So that is a very, very strong piece. The kings are kind of like a queen light in a way, because the king can move in every direction but only one square at a time. So yep, like that, up, down, left, right, diagonally, however you want, only one square. Of course, typically you're not using your king. Yeah, that's another thing, we can get into that one. You'll typically won't use your king as an attacking piece and shove him to the front because that's dangerous, right? You want to protect your king and keep him in the back to not get checkmated. Kings cannot stand right across from each other.
Because you can't move a king in a position where he would put himself in a check.
That is exactly correct. That would be called an illegal move. You cannot put a king into check. Because then you would be captured, which is not a thing. So that's an illegal move. You cannot do that. Other than that, kings move around however they want freely. Kings are important in the endgame and assist in a lot of mating ideas later. This, what we see right there, by the way, is called an opposition. Go back. Or move the, yeah. This is called an opposition. When kings are facing each other, right? That's called an opposition. One more thing that we need to mention is a special feature that the knight has. Because the knight is the only piece that can jump over the top of other pieces. This is a legitimate move that JJ just made there. Yeah. These are legitimate moves. Now see if the bishop can do it. Try to move the white bishop over top. Yeah. Doesn't work. Queen. Doesn't work. Rook. Does not work. The knight is the only piece that can jump over top of other pieces. Which, pro tip for this lesson, in very condensed and closed up positions, the knight is a valuable piece. Now we're gonna quickly talk about, before we end this video, is the values of the pieces. So, what you need to know when you start playing is, what is a good trade for me and what is a bad trade for me? Because pieces have different values. Now, what is the value for a pawn, JJ?
It's 1.
It's 1, intuitively, because the pawn is the basic unit that the other ones will be measured in. Now, these values they don't always apply necessarily that way, but here's how the pieces are kind of waged. A bishop and a knight are each worth 3 pawns. A rook is worth 5 pawns. The queen is worth how many pawns?
I think you said 9 before?
It's 9, right. The queen is by far the most valuable piece, it's 9 pawns, and the king?
It doesn't get a value because if it were dead, there would be no game.
That is correct. The king is worth infinitely many of anything else. So that doesn't even get a value assigned to him. That's the numbers that you can roughly go by. So usually you never want to give up your queen for an opponent's rook.
Fair.
You typically don't want to give up a rook for an opponent's bishop.
Yeah.
Sometimes, in certain situations you do, and we'll get to those later down the series. But those always have realistic implications already, and typically that's the rules you want to go by. You don't want to give up a knight for an opponent's pawn. And you don't want to give up your king for anything.
Yeah, you can't.
You can't really, exactly. So you never want to get checkmated. No matter how much material, as we say, you win for that. If you hang a checkmate, that's never a good idea. So that's the basic introduction to the chess rules. Very first episode in this series. I hope you enjoyed this. And the next time we're going to get a little bit more in depth. Did you just try to move the king off the board?
I was trying to concede. It doesn't work.
To e0? Really? No. Next time we are going to get into some of the more advanced things. We're going to look at if we can get there, and this was received well enough. We can get into basic puzzles, look at some checkmating, how that works, how to actually win the game, which is, the most important part of it.
Yeah, it would seem so.
Because it's fine, good to know how the pieces move, but then we also need to know how to win. So that's what we're going to look at next time. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like and share it with a friend. Anyone you know who might be interested in chess, who is beginning with playing chess at the moment and might need some help. This is, I believe, a good series for those, because we actually have a beginner in the house, so we always know how a beginner would feel, and it's never going to go over someone's head. Also, feel free to ask any question that you have about chess on whatever level you are. I will be willing to answer those to, of course, the extent that I can do it myself. I'm not a grandmaster, but I'm an experienced player and fairly okay, so for beginner to intermediate players, I can help out with whatever you need to. Leave a comment on the video to tell us your opinion on what we are doing, what you would like to see, if you have a question, obviously, and we are going to see you in the next video.
I mean, it seems to me in chess, you have to have the talent, but the guys who reach the top are the ones who keep at it. They have the character. They don't get distracted by other things in life until they got the title.